Beheaded African American becomes a mythical figure in the Philippines. Let's learn more. Mabuhay, or in Kapampangan, luwid kayo. In my old video on the heroic African Americans in the Philippine-American War, I've mentioned the name of Captain David Fagen, and a lot of folks have since asked me more about him. So today, we will be learning a little bit more about the legendary Captain David Fagen. David Fagen was born in Tampa, Florida in the year of 1875. Nothing much is known about his early life, but by 1898, he was enlisted in the 24th Infantry Regiment, which at the time was one of only 4 regiments of African American soldiers in the US Army. By autumn of 1899, David Fagen and his regiment was sent to the Philippines and were thrusted in front of a bloody war. They set up camp near the Rio Grande de la Pampanga, or the Kapampangan River, at the core of the Filipino Revolution and struggle for independence. The Philippine-American War had been raging since the beginning of 1899. The war between the United States and the Philippines broke out as Filipino patriots and revolutionaries fought vigorously to defend their independence. An independence that they had won in a revolution against Spain, but it was a freedom that was swiftly taken away by their American allies. David Fagen was at the front lines of the brutal and bloody offensive against the Filipino forces in central Luzon. But by November of 1899, David Fagen ran over to the Philippine Army for sanctuary. He took refuge in the Filipino-controlled Mount Arayat, or Bundukalaya, at the sacred mythical heart of Kapampangan, or what is now Central Luzon. He defected and was branded as a bandit and a traitor against the United States. But it was in his time with the Filipino people that he has shown true heroism and selflessness. His bravery earned him much respect and, more importantly, the trust of the Filipino people. He earned not just the respect and the admiration of the people, but he also quickly rose up the ranks. By 1900, the highly revered and valiant Kapampangan General Jose Alejandrino officially promoted David Fagen to the rank of captain. But better yet, he was referred to by the Filipino people as General Fagen, or General Fagen. He was a gifted military officer who also spoke Tagalog. David Fagen would eventually marry a local lady, and his legendary exploits during the war would lead to mythical proportions, especially among the Kapampangan elders and the Indigenous Aetas, many of whom referred to him as Pugut, a mysterious mythical giant but friendly supernatural being. Branded as a bandit and frustrated by his legendary exploits, the American forces sought bitterly to end his life in whatever way possible. A bounty of $600, or about $18,000 in today's money, was offered to anyone who could bring his severed head to the Americans. By the end of 1901, a bounty hunter turned in what he claims to be the head of Captain David Fagen, but it was never really confirmed or verified. In fact, Captain David Fagen evaded countless attempts against his life, and sightings of him were reported here and there in the years following his official death. And all of these only added to the legend, the mystery, and the myth surrounding Captain David Fagen. But why would David Fagen switch sides? Why would he dare leave the all-powerful US Army and join the scattered guerrilla forces of the Philippines in the jungle? The answer has a lot to do with racism. Yes, racism is real, both in American institutions and in the everyday life in the United States and beyond. Despite fighting for the United States in countless wars, African-American soldiers were treated terribly and were seen as disposable bodies. They suffered violence from their white superiors and were bitterly despised by their white fellow soldiers. Racism in the United States goes hand in hand with American imperialism overseas. The violence the Americans unleashed in the Philippines reminded many African Americans of their own experiences, from the atrocities of their past to the injustices of their present conditions. David Fagen was just one of the many African Americans who stood in solidarity with their fellow people of color against white imperialism. And just a reminder, this is by no means the complete story of Captain Fagen, and it's something that I'm still digging deeper into. But as I've mentioned before, given the current political and social climate here in the United States, it is crucial for us Filipino-Americans to stand in solidarity with our fellow oppressed and marginalized communities communities. The African Americans had once shed blood for our people's freedom. It is only just and right that we stand beside them as they continue the fight to be recognized and be respected as human beings. Because we, black and brown people, also deserve to be treated with dignity and regard for our basic human rights, especially in this land of the free. So yes, do not be afraid to stand in solidarity with people who are also facing injustices. But it is also important for us to address our own anti-blackness in our own cultures and communities. Because our people had respected one another and had once fought for each other's freedom. And it doesn't make sense that we just leave them hanging. And that is it for me today. If you like this video and if you learned a thing or two, don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to help me make more videos like this, show your support and please be my patron. Takalpong salamat. See you next time, or in Tagalog, kita kits. In Kapampangan, mi kitiks.